Wait, it hasn't started yet. Hello, guys. My name is BJ Min from HowExpert.com. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We're from HowExpert.com, where we publish short how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts. And today we have one additional interview with the author of Domestic Violence 101, Amanda Reilly. And I want to show you the book. Well, before we get started with the interview, I want to show you the book right now real quick, guys. Okay, Domestic Violence 101. Amanda Reilly is the author of Domestic Violence 101, and I do want to read a little bio about her, the background. One second, as you can see inside this book. What you're going to learn inside the book is chapter 1. You're going to learn defining and understanding domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Chapter 2, safety planning. Chapter 3, finding resources. Chapter 4, risks regarding leaving and why victims stay. Chapter 5, preparing to leave. Chapter 6, legal issue. Chapter 7, what happens next. So this is a basic guide for people who are in a situation they want to overcome, move on from domestic violence. This is also for people who are in counselor situations. Amanda is a case manager. She's a social worker. She's also an ESL teacher and a freelancing writer. And she has helped other people overcome this sensitive topic, this situation, and help them move on, people who are going through domestic violence. So Amanda, thank you for coming to the interview. I appreciate you being on the interview. How are you doing?
Thank you, BJ.
Awesome, awesome. So
great, thank you.
You're doing good? Awesome, awesome. Okay. So let's get right to it. Like, why did you write this book, and who should read it?
I think that domestic violence is a very sensitive topic. It's a very hot button topic. People don't want to talk about it. All the more important that we do talk about domestic violence. For one reason, the main reason, I started being involved in domestic violence when I was in college, and I had a major internship at a domestic violence shelter. That shelter was my first experience with working with victims of domestic violence, and it encouraged me to become more involved in domestic violence awareness, educating people on domestic violence. Domestic violence can happen to anyone.
Wow.
People think that won't happen to me. I'm in this socioeconomic bracket, or that just happens to people who, aren't educated, or it happens to people who are in a bad situation. It happens to people that don't have any resources or any family members, but it can happen to anyone. It can happen to somebody with a PhD. It can happen to somebody with what appears to be a stable home on the outside, to somebody that appears to have financial security. And so I think it's important to talk about and what we can do to prevent it, and how you can help somebody who may be going through a situation, and also how to identify warning signs, how to find out, that's going through a situation. Physically abusive, they might not have bruises on their arms and legs, but they still might be being emotionally abused, verbally abused, psychologically, financially, even spiritually abused through technology. So there's a lot of ways that somebody can be abused.
Now let's talk about, what is the definition of domestic violence from your understanding, from your expertise? What is domestic violence?
Violence occurs in all of those ways that I just mentioned. It occurs physically, sexually, emotionally, psychologically, financially, spiritually, and through technology. And domestic violence in the frame of intimate partner violence, which occurs between two partners of opposite sex or of the same sex. However, it can also occur within the home, within members of the home. We often talk about intimate partner violence because it's the most common.
Yes.
Is any situation where someone is exercising power and control over their partner or their direct family member.
Okay.
They're exercising their power and control in a way that is manipulating you and
Right.
making you feel about your daily life.
Right. I'm just curious, how many percentage of relationships, I'm just curious, how many percentage of relationships, because you made a good point, just because someone may have a PhD, they may look like they have everything together, they may be going through it. So like in the world through relationships, generally speaking, like what's your estimate? Like how many people are going through this, like relationship wise? Generally
Really be sure, because also it's something that's underreported. Because if you get an anonymous survey, who's going to answer, yes, I'm being abused? So it's really hard to get accurate percentages, but if you were interested in statistics, you can go to the National Domestic Violence Hotline website, and you can see what their statistics are. They would have the most current and most accurate statistics or information on which populations are most commonly abused, and what those statistics look like. I do also have the phone guide for you as well, or anyone who's watching. If you do know someone who's being abused or are being abused, you should call 1-800-97233. And that's the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
Yes, in her book, she emphasized that a lot. That number is, at the end of the book, it's also, you even memorize it. That's awesome. 1-800-799-7233, right?
Correct.
National Domestic Violence Hotline. So if people do call who are in the situation, who watch this video, maybe for now or for the future, whoever needs it, call 1-800-799-7233. Now, if they call, what can they expect when they call that place?
You can expect to talk to a trained counselor with regard to domestic violence. That person should be able to talk to you about your immediate situation. Are you safe right now? Is it safe to make this phone call? And then if it is, which we hope that it is, if you're able to make that phone call, then they'll talk to you about safety planning. They'll talk to you about what do you want to do? What are your next steps? A person can also just listen, because maybe they just need somebody to talk to about what's going on in their life. And they can also provide you resources and information that you may have in your local area. So for example, if you call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, they may say, this number we have, that's the closest shelter in your area, that's the closest domestic violence counseling center. So then they can give you more resources that are going to be closer to home for you geographically that you'll be able to utilize.
Awesome. Now, some people may say, like, you know, every couple, like a lot of relationships, they have their own like fights here and there. What's the difference between, you know, normal arguments here and there versus domestic violence? What's the key difference? So people can know, like, because maybe some people can be like, oh yeah, but this is normal. This is normal, right? What's not normal? What's domestic violence?
It's not normal, right? Everybody has petty arguments in relationships, right? So where's the difference? A lot of domestic violence is this idea of power and control. And it's when one of the partners in the relationship can be male or female, although it is true that it's more common that a woman is more commonly abused and is exercising some kind of power and constantly trying to be in control of the other person. So for example, we talk about the cycle of abuse, and that builds between the two. Whether it's something physical, situation, to a critical point in the other partner's life where they consider, wow, what's going on, dangerous, this isn't healthy, whatever those thoughts they have.
Okay. So
the partner will try to apologize and make reconciliation. So they'll say to them, oh, you know, I didn't mean it. Like, you know, I'm sorry. I love you. This won't ever happen again. And then there's a period of calm. And then, so if you find yourself in that cycle where there's an incident that occurs and your partner then says, oh, I'm sorry, I love you, it won't happen again. And then it does. Once you start to see that cycle, that could be an identifier that you are in a domestic violence situation.
That's a good point. So if it's a pattern keeps repeating over and over.
There's a pattern that repeats itself. Or for example, if you're not allowed to do anything.
Oh, give us an example. Give us one example.
And a partner may not want you to, may not have access to a bank card.
Oh wow.
May not be able to even or leave the house or call your family members because they want to be sure that you can't contact anybody, that you're not going to seek help from anyone. Just the idea that whatever you do, I know about does, and you only need to talk to me because I love you and I'm going to take care of you. The problem with that, obviously, is that you're being cut off from the rest of the world. So slowly, one by one, your partner or other family member may say, oh, well, you know what? I provide for everything you need, so you don't really need a job. Why are you going to work?
Wow.
So there are key phrases and things that you can hear explaining that to you would be like, wow, I can't believe that would happen, but it does, and it happens every day to thousands of people across the world.
Does it happen slowly? Like for most cases, it's slowly? That's how it happens?
It happens slowly. You know, he's a charmer. Oh, he's such a sweet guy. He brings me gifts. We go out to dinner. Like, oh, why don't you move in with me? And then somebody starts to see some signs like, well, you know, he has some anger management issues, but he's a really nice guy, you know.
Right.
At one time that he threw a chair across the room, but he was just really upset.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. It's extreme. That's what.
And he said, you know, he's really sorry and it's never going to happen again. So a lot of broken promises.
Wow.
To see some anger issues usually. You start to see your partner was abused as a child himself, or maybe experienced some trauma in his life that led him to become an abuser. Nobody wakes up and thinks, I can't wait to abuse somebody else, at least not somebody that's healthy, right? Nobody wakes up thinking, I can't wait to abuse my partner or my mother or my daughter. But the reality is that it does happen, and more often than we'd like to think.
Wow, that's very interesting, insightful. Now, there may be some people in this situation. They might say, I want to change that person. What do you have to say to those kind of people? I want to change him, or I want to change her, and he will change. What do you have to say to these people?
I mean, constant communication is great. So if you're a counselor, or if you're just a family member or friend that notices a change in their family member or friend, listen, be a listener, talk to them, be supportive in your relationship. You know, be honest with them. Hey, you know, I noticed some stuff going on that I don't seems really good. I noticed that you're not picking up my phone calls. Is there anything going on? Do you want to talk about it? I know that you said he's going to change, but himself, he's not going to. And that's something that we have to remember, even in any kind of relationship. If you're in a relationship, the person will change for me. That's not necessarily going to happen, and it's a rarity when it does. Because that person has to want to change a behavior or a pattern or a habit themselves. By you saying, oh, well, he says he's going to change, or she says she will change, action. That person has to want that change within themselves.
Right, actions speak louder than words.
Say to someone. So I know this may seem like, but you have to see also what's going on and be aware that people change themselves. Other people usually don't change others.
Right, right. Now let's focus on a solution now. One of the questions is, how can domestic violence be prevented?
So prevention, it's really important to also talk about awareness, which is what we're doing today, talking about domestic violence, what you can do, what domestic violence looks like. It's really important that everyone knows the signs, the warning signs of domestic violence, to be aware of different things that occur. When your friend, for example, like I said, doesn't pick up the phone. When someone says, oh, I can't really go out. Someone is kind of controlling their words in the background, or they're being monitored, for example. Of course, also look for signs of physical abuse. We can't forget that that occurs as well, and usually it's co-occurring. Usually there might be some emotional, psychological, and verbal, and then it may escalate to physical or sexual assault. Maybe their behaviors may be off. A talkative person or someone that would like to go out to the bar with you once in a while, and now they don't go out at all. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I have to stay home, you know, because my partner, he just gets a little excited, or, you know, he's just a little jealous, but, you know, it's okay. Mm. Be aware of warning signs.
Right.
Is really important to prevent domestic violence, and to also identify in your relationships if it's a healthy relationship or not. So if you're in a relationship that might be unhealthy, is this a healthy relationship, and get out of it before it gets worse if it's unhealthy.
Now, what is safety planning? You talk about in your book, and what is involved in safety planning?
I talk a lot about safety planning in the book, and when I was trained in domestic violence, this was really important part of our training. It usually involves when someone is potentially or already is in a relationship that is abusive. Safety planning can be, how can you stay safe in the home when you're already being abused? Question, right? You're thinking, how can I be safe if I'm already being abused? Just to leave. So some of the things we talk about are things. Be aware that some rooms of the house are more dangerous than others. So if it looks like you're being backed into a corner, try to not be in that situation. Try to avoid fights or arguments in rooms like the kitchen, in the bathroom, where there are sharp objects, knives, razors, poison, chemicals. So know your exits. If you're on a third floor building, is there a fire escape? Is there a window you can go out? How can you get out of the building in an emergency? Have an emergency contact. Does someone know your situation? Is there anyone you feel comfortable talking to? Call them and say, I need a place to go right now. Know your emergency contact phone numbers, have phone numbers memorized, and if possible, emergency bag.
Emergency bag.
If he leaves the home, whether he goes to work or the store or the bar, with emergency documents, clothes, medications, Social Security cards, ID cards, health insurance, car keys, money. Important for you that you're going to have, for example, if you're leaving with children, have children's medications, a set of clothes for your children, have that bag ready, but have it in a place, if you can find one, someplace that your partner's not going to look, so that if you do need to leave in an emergency or in the middle of the night, or you are planning on leaving, you have a plan in place, have your materials together, and know where you're going to go if possible. Know that there's a domestic violence shelter. Have time, go to the library and buy plane tickets on the bus tickets on the computer in the library, so he can't cheat your browser history, so that you have those tickets and you're ready to leave.
Wow, this is like really good advice for preparation.
Plan everything that you can do, but do it in a manner that is not going to alarm your partner about what you're doing.
Awesome, awesome. This is amazing, detailed advice. Worst case scenario, you're prepared already, you know? Okay.
Right, be prepared and be aware of, monitor your devices, so your iPad, your cell phone, your smartphone, your laptop. So even if you delete browser history, you know, some really clever hackers and abusive partners may be able to get into your browser history. So using a different computer, using another phone, buy a burner phone and hide it. Buy yourself a track phone.
A few more questions. You mentioned about the cycle of abuse. Did you talk about that before, or what is that briefly?
I talked a little bit about the cycle of abuse, about how it's a pattern and how it starts with an incident. Then he apologizes, everything's going to be okay, everything's calm again, then the tension builds again, the incident happens again. Cycle that often happens between abusers and victims. Individuals who are a victim as a child frequently become victims again as an adult, or become an abuser, which is another pattern that happens. Although it's not something conscious that happens, a lot of times victims of abuse as a child will end up becoming and identifying partners who appear to be great and loving and charismatic, but turn out to also be abusive personalities.
Wow, wow. So where can someone who watches this, maybe down the line in the future, who's in a very extreme situation, again, where can they go for help?
Go for help. Use your immediate resources. Talk to your family, your friends, your coworkers. If you're extremely isolated from talking to anyone that you know that might know you, Do you frequent a local pizza shop with your partner? Is there anyone who knows you at all that you could talk to or slip a note to? Can you go to the police? Are you safe? Are you comfortable going to the police, going to a domestic violence shelter, going to a shelter? So are and who you speak with, what you can do. Is it safe to go here? Get a protection from abuse order. And if so, you're safe. So there's a lot of options that you have. Your first line of defense is already know you. Your second line of defense is making use of resources in your community. So find out what resources you have. If you're in a rural area, the next closest urban area. If you're just literally on the run with a bag, find, you know, a YMCA, go to a government office, a police station, any public area if you're trying to stay safe. Obviously, wander down dark alleys. Stay in public places, in parks and shopping malls, even post office, or find somewhere to talk to people and let them know what's going on and have.
Exactly. It's all about taking action, being proactive in the situation. Don't wait. If it's the worst case scenario, don't wait, like Amanda says. One more question. How can other people, maybe they're not going through domestic violence themselves, but they seek some kind of patterns with their friends or loved ones. How can they help? How can we help other people who may be going through that?
Talk to them about it. Encourage them to get help. It may seem like a really difficult thing to do if it's your close loved one, if it's your sister, your brother, your best friend, your cousin, can even happen to your parents. You know, offer them support. You can come stay with me. You know, I noticed that you're not going out. Well, hey, can I come over? If they say no, that might be another warning sign. Okay, right. They're not allowed to come out. I'm not allowed to come over. So what can you do? Just be persistent, be that support. And if you suspect sexual violence really happening, like if you're a neighbor and you hear something, report it. Obviously, we hope that it doesn't escalate to that point, but if you can prevent it from getting that far, that's better. Be a support and be aware of what's going on. And if you don't hear from them,
that's a sign right there. So awesome. Yeah. So, okay, other than people who watch this video interview, go get Amanda's book. But other than the book, how can people get in contact with you? Maybe they're going through a situation. Can they get in contact with you? Maybe professional LinkedIn page, or I know you are a freelancing writer, but where can they contact you? Maybe you can help them down the line. Is there?
Sure. Me on my Upwork link, which is where I do my freelance work. However, be very accessible to you unless you're in the freelance world. Okay. So I do also have a LinkedIn page. It's not very current, but I will give that to the interview as well, so I can be contacted on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think it's a great way for people who may want to contact, who knows, down the line. You know,
right. You can contact also the HowExperts, and they can get in contact with me. Okay. And you can also contact any local domestic violence agency.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you guys do want to get in contact with Amanda, if you are a, let me show you the link right second. You can see right here. 1 second. Hold on 1 second, guys. If you're looking for a freelance writer, Amanda, she has experience being an English teacher, a social worker. As you can see from the interview, she has a lot of experience in the background of domestic violence, but she's also a writer, freelance writer, and from the USA. ESL teacher as well. So get in contact with her, guys, and check out her services. I really recommend her. She's obviously very knowledgeable, not only in this topic, but as a writer as well, freelance writer. So I highly recommend you to check out our services as a freelance if you need freelance writing for whatever reason. Amanda, thank you for coming to this interview. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the advice that you gave for people out there who may be going through this situation. It was really important, I believe. Yeah. Can you? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you, Amanda. So I'll see you soon then. Take care.
Thank you very much. BJ. And again, if you are in need, please reach out to the hotline.
Yes.
Please reach out to somebody you know. If you're not comfortable reaching out to somebody you know, call the hotline, go online on a secure computer or phone, and find out what resources you have available to you, and be safe. Thanks, everybody.
1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. Okay, thank you, guys. Take care, Amanda.
All right, thank you.